If you want to stay behind the curve on guitar, the last thing you should do is understand how notes translate and how you recognize the fretboard by intervals. And since you want to be above the average player and you want to be the best, you're going to learn intervals right now and how to see them on the guitar neck to play chords effortlessly whenever and wherever you want. The first thing you need to understand about intervals is how far another note away is from another note. So to make it really easy, we're going to bring up just a C octave, which is going to contain 12 total notes, which is C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and then C is the octave. And ignore the difference between sharps and flats, as right now it's not important for intervals. It's more of a weird theory thing that's not your problem right now. So obviously our first C is our 1, right? It's just our thing. So now we get to our second degrees. And the degrees count like this, 2 and 2. However, this is 2 minor, while this one is just 2 major. And you're going to see this pattern repeat a couple times, because it's going to repeat for the third. We have a minor third, and then a major third. But 4 and 5, it's weird. We have 4 and 5, and in this middle interval, it's called a tritone, so we'll just put a T to make it really easy. And it's called that way because it's the exact halfway point to the octave. And now we have our 6s. And then we get to our 7th. And so this is how they all count up in terms of degrees, right? And this makes sense because when we build a major scale, we just play only the major degrees, while these minors in the tritone are cut out. And then the same thing goes for if we build our standard minor mode, we just cut out these major notes and the tritone. Alternatively, if you find this really weird, having 2 2s, 2 3s, what you have to realize here is the minor is always before the major, which also means it's a half step lower, so it's a lower pitch. And an alternative way for you to recognize this that was easier for me at the start was just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, back to 1. So, moving on, we now need to talk about how the guitar is tuned in relation to all these notes and the intervals. And one more important thing to note is that the intervals also go backwards. So for example, when we had our perfect fourth and perfect fifth, we could then say that G is a perfect fourth away from C, while we can say F is a perfect fourth away from C, and of course we called F and G a minor second apart. In order to understand how to play these on the guitar neck, you need to understand why the strings are tuned and how they're tuned. Right now I'm talking about standard tuning, and if you're playing in some weird drop D tuning, this is slightly going to apply, but this is standard tuning, or if you're half a step down, it's pretty much the same thing, or a whole step down, whole step up, whatever, as long as it follows this pattern. Take your E string, go up a perfect fourth, we get to A. A to a perfect fourth, D, and then of course D to a perfect fourth is G. But to make chords really easy to play, we now have to drop this G string, so it's a major third interval instead of a perfect fourth, which we'll get into why it complicates things later. And then of course the E is just a perfect fourth away from the G, so we can get this nice octave sound, essential for playing chords. So we can navigate notes and build chords easily. If we take a note anywhere, let's say on our E string, and we want to go a perfect fifth, we need to go exactly over and then down 2 frets to get to our perfect fifth, which makes a power chord. So the really important pattern to notice is perfect fourth, perfect fourth. And if we want to make a major chord, we now have both our thirds right above the fourth. And of course, if we play lower, you can see where these seconds come in, but there's no point in playing a second up here when you can just play your seconds, making it really easy to navigate. And of course, playing your sixes, you could either go up there or below your fifth. In the sevens, you just play above whatever root you're picking. So how does this change when we get to right here. Because now this is a major third. So really, you just have to translate everything that's going in between the G string and B string up in pitch 1 fret, or this way on the fretboard, which looks like this. We want to play perfect fourth. We move right there. And of course, to get our fifth, right there. We want to play major chord. That's really easy. There's our minor. And of course, you can now understand how the pattern goes, but if you don't, there's your seconds, and there's your third, if this is your root on the G string. And of course, for any clarification, once you're over here on this B string, your normal interval rules apply, same as every other string. But that's not the only hard part, because now you need to learn how to work it backwards. If we're right here, a root on our G. If we're right here, a root on our A. We don't necessarily always want to play perfect fifth this way. We could always do it this way, since it also counts backwards, because going back to the numbers idea, +5, -5, +7, -7, easy to understand. But if that's a perfect fourth, that means it's a perfect fifth going the other way. So now we have our fifth here, fourth up here, and an easy sixth up there. And of course, if we remember this, here is our fourth. So that's how you go back a perfect fifth. Same rule just applies. It's just the other way because you're coming this way. And now that you understand how you can find these, this is how it's useful. So if you're just trying to make a chord progression, you can know, here's my 1, and if I want to get to a 2, I can go here. If I want to go to my 5, I got here and there, or alternatively, there and there. Makes navigating root notes of chords insanely easy. The main thing is actually building these chords, because you're going to learn how to stack triads, the most important thing to learn on guitar, especially in the rhythm chord guitarist sense. If we want to build triads, we know there's our major, and of course we can't play the fifth here, so we can play our fifth back here. Or if you're more advanced, you know up here is also a fifth, and you can just go here. And then it's very, very useful for when you're learning how to build triads. You can go, here's our 5, root, and now I want my major third, or minor. So learning to build those triads will be extremely easy. And then once you get into really complicated stuff, this is the foundation for extended chords. Because if we have our E major, now we want to add a major 7. And of course, the easiest way to do this would be to move this octave to the major 7. So in summary, learning this pattern will help you build scales and chords effortlessly, and you really are going to need it to understand a lot of music and guitar lingo as well. And by mastering this, you will have easy fretboard recognition, especially when you pair it with scales.